to start off this little video discussing hip mobility. The first drill that I have planned out for you guys is a 3D hip stretch using a dowel rod. You can do this without a dowel rod, but I prefer it because I feel like it lets you get a little bit more involvement with the upper body. So the premise behind this little drill is that we're focusing on hip mobility in all three planes of movement. So we have sagittal plane, frontal plane, and transverse plane. So it makes sense to say that when you're going to focus on an area, you want to try to address all three planes. Now, if you had to choose just one plane, I would suggest just sticking with the sagittal plane, which is the first little drill out of this sequence that you're going to see. But a blend of all three is always a better idea. So what I have clients do with this drill is I place them in a half kneeling position, which is just as I'm in right here. I like to have a cushion under the back knee. And if you notice, pretty much everything's 90 degrees. You want to make sure that when they shift forward, or when you shift forward, that the foot's not so close into you that the knee's going way past the toes. So a half lunging or a half kneeling position. And then also of importance is that you squeeze the glutes, which is going to automatically brace the abs to kind of create a posterior pelvic tilt. Always important there. So we've got some good integrity through this area here. Glutes are firing, which is going to kind of relax the psoas a little bit, relax that hip flexor, and allow us to get a little bit better stretch. So what we're going to do, we're going to go for a count of 2 and get 5 reps in each plane. So the first is the sagittal plane, which is just going overhead as you drive the hips forward. You want to breathe out. Okay. Second one's going to be frontal plane, which is basically taking the arms from one side across to the other. So on this one, same thing, we're going to shift it and just pull it back. Okay, for the transverse plane, we're going to take the arms out in front. We're going to rotate towards the side of the forward leg. So again, belly button's nice and drawn in, glutes are tight. So that's the transverse plane. So that's the 3D hip stretch. Okay. We're going to move on from that. And I'm just going to use my foam roller for this. Second thing on the hit list is a modified Cossack stretch. Now, this is going to emphasize the adductors. So typically a tight area for most people. We want to incorporate them into hip mobility drills just because it's all working together. So can't forget them. What we're going to do here, we're going to get the feet roughly 3 feet apart. Now what's really cool about using a foam roller for this is not only is it good for people that aren't able to do the full-fledged hands on the floor variation, it elevates the upper body just a little bit. You can get a little bit more into the drill without it being too advanced. But not only that, it provides a good kind of indicator of how far to put the feet. So that's kind of nifty. Feet are straight ahead, and all we're doing here, hands are on the foam roller. We're just going to shift it across to one side and shift it to the other. Now what I want y'all to do is when you shift it, move the hands and get that elbow on the inside of the knee to kind of make sure it stays over the foot. You'll also feel a little bit more of a stretch that way too. Count of 2. Count of 2. So it's just kind of a shifting crouched position. So that's the modified Cossack stretch. All right, third thing we're going to talk about is going to be a half Turkish get-up. Now, I love Turkish get-ups. I love the full-fledged version. I love doing them with all different types of equipment, not just a kettlebell. But what I've kind of been tinkering with a few clients lately is breaking it down and taking kind of from the ground up to half kneeling position, and then returning to the starting position. Using that portion of the exercise, I found that it's a little bit more challenging for people actually. They feel it a lot more throughout the obliques especially, but through the core. But not only that, we're getting a lot of good hip mobility work when you bring the leg through, which you'll see here in a second. So that's why I wanted to share it with you. So all we're doing here on the Turkish get up, we're going to take the weight. Main thing that you're gonna do is start off with the arms gonna be straight up. You're gonna pull this shoulder, or pull the head of the humerus down into the socket. So we're packing that shoulder and we're creating some integrity. I'm actually pinching my shoulder blades right here. If the right arm is up, right leg is gonna be bent, and you're gonna push through this right foot. We're gonna roll it onto the elbow. Then you just kind of bring yourself up to a seated position and shift this hands, slide it kind of back behind your glute. We're going to elevate you here, kind of a bridge position, pushing it through the right foot. And you're going to swing this left leg through, which is that hip mobility part I was discussing. And then you're going to sit it up to the half kneeling position, which is also awesome because we're stretching out. You're getting a lot of total body work here, so that's why I chose it. And you're just going to reverse it. Pull the leg through, seated position, and then slowly lower yourself back down. Okay, so that's the half Turkish get-up.